What if I told you you probably think that your money problems are actually logical, but they're not? Your money problems are a result of what you were programmed to believe when you were a child. You are still living out and acting and treating money from your perspective of your inner child, probably between the ages of 1 to 7 when you were programmed. You see, scientists have discovered that the person you are today is the person that was programmed from the age of 1 to 7. And we know during that age range, there's a lot of negative programming that goes into a child that alters who they are and gives them different personality traits and also understandings about life, money, and relationships, even who they are as a person. Think about it. The first thing that happens when you're born is you get a trauma. They actually spank you one time to make you cry. That's the first trauma that you get coming into this world. You get hit. And that hit then is, believe it or not, a trauma that stays in you forever. It might seem like something very minute. I can't really remember it. But it is a trauma that's stored in the subconscious and stored in the body. Actually getting a miniature beating on your way into this world, right, is a very, very tricky thing because we don't realize how it can affect us into the future. And then everything after that is forced on you. You're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you're forced to defend a false identity because you really don't know who you are. You've been given these things. Then you get to school and they steal and rob your imagination. They rob your identity. They force you to sit down, shut up, sit still, be quiet, don't fidget, raise your hand, and maybe they may call on you to answer or let you ask a question. So you're put into this box. And then the educational system, specifically, of course, in the US, I'm not sure worldwide, but in most cases, doesn't really teach you how to follow your passion and exchange that passion to generate income. It teaches you how to memorize answers. It doesn't even teach you how to provide solutions. So your inner child is not really learning the things that it needs to create and build wealth, legacy, and manifestation. This is one of the biggest problems that we have because money isn't numbers. Money isn't an actual thing that actually exists. It's a frequency, and they never teach you this. Once they get you isolated in this box where everything's been taken from you and everything that they want has been imprinted on you, they make a good worker bee. They want you to go, punch in, punch out, churn away, generate revenue for the beast, and then send you back home to sit on your couch, eat a dinner, go to sleep, and do it all over again. They have most of us like hamsters on a wheel, just running and running and running, and the wheel is spinning, but we're not really going anywhere. And you're thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. And if I do this till I'm 65, I can retire, I can get this small check, and if I had the right savings in my 401k and a couple other things, I might be able to take a trip every 2 years. Will you really truly enjoy it at those age groups? Probably not. And then you might get a gift. Maybe they'll give you a watch or something, or a trophy, or a certificate to put on your wall. Thank you for your years of dedication. And we think that we've lived a full life. We've lived the life that they gave us. We have lived the life that they forced us to actually live. And this isn't necessarily the life that we truly, really wanted. We just were taught to believe that it was. If you look back into your school years, you'll recognize something interesting. You were never taught how to solve problems. Why is that? Well, if you're not a problem solver, you can't create a new reality. You're stuck with the reality and the solutions that they force on you. And those solutions will keep you in a lack of abundance and scarcity mindset. That's what they want. Look at all your tests that you took in school. Think back on them. Think about the things you had to learn. Your multiplication tables, for example. 2 times 2 equals 4. I can walk up to almost any adult and I can ask them a question. I can say, hey, what is 2 times 2? They're going to say, oh, it's 4. Then I say, why is it 4? Now they have to think for a minute. Why is 2 times 2 4? Now, eventually some will work up the answer, but the point I'm making here is they were taught to memorize answers without understanding the process to get to the final result. In other words, we've been taught how to memorize the answer without learning how to provide a solution or understand how to solve a problem. And most of the tests we've taken over the years have been all about memorized answers to pass tests, and then we think we know something. No, we are just regurgitating stored information with no comprehension. And that also keeps us stuck from getting in the vibration and frequency of changing our reality and manifesting abundance. This is where they want us. This is where they have us. They have us thinking that this is a logical solution. The way that we're operating is based on pure logic. It's actually illogical. So what do you do about this? You have to change the way that you see yourself, and you have to go back in time to your inner self, your inner child. And you have to deal with some of the issues and the programming code and some of the traumas that you were given as a little kid. A couple of years ago, I had the great benefit of interacting with a hypnotherapist. At first, I was a little bit, resistant to doing this therapy. But I said, hey, well, what do I have to lose? Right? What did I have to lose? And this hypnotherapist did an amazing job. So the area that I was suffering in or getting stagnated in was manifesting a particular outcome within one of my businesses, one of my companies. I was having some issues and I had kind of reached a plateau and I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. And I started having some issues that kept holding the business back. And he said, the reason why your company and your business isn't getting to the levels that you want to manifest is because it's linked to childhood trauma. I was like, huh? My childhood trauma is stopping me from manifesting, the highest form or level of my business success? He said, yeah, it's stopping you. So I said, okay, I'm open-minded, as everyone knows. I'll try it. Let's do this. But I didn't just try it just to try it, for fun. I tried it to be real and to really experience this and see what was going to happen. He started the hypnotherapy session, and the first thing he did was he took me back in time to when I was a child. But not just a child. He took me back in time to when I was a child having a trauma, a financial trauma. And he took me back to a moment in my life when I was, I think at the time I was 12 years old. And he was talking about what was I going through, what was I seeing, what was I experiencing at that time. And I explained to him what was going on. I told him that I was wearing only 2 pairs of pants, that I was in trouble in school because kids were making fun of me because I wore those 2 pairs of pants, and they had a rip in the crotch, and I kept trying to repair it with stitching, and the pants were just getting too small, my ankles were showing and so forth, and my shirt wasn't covering. And my parents weren't buying me anything new. They just couldn't afford anything else. And I told them that I started bleaching the pants and then dyeing them different colors. Even though they were still high waters, at least they were different colors. And people might have the illusion that I had more than one pair, but that maybe I was just growing fast, and that's why my ankles were showing. Back then they called it high waters, and the kids would laugh and say, he's got high waters, and they'd laugh at you, And I talked about, struggling to have money, if we didn't have lunch, the lunch for the paid lunch, which sometimes for whatever reason, they didn't give it to us. And then we had a situation where we'd have a packed lunch, but the packed lunch literally would just have sometimes a slice of bread in it. I said, so it really was hard, growing up during that time, especially having to go into the cafeteria and sit down next to kids that are opening up these nice, beautiful, colorful lunch boxes made of this tin can type of material with Charlie Brown on it and Mickey Mouse on them and all these cool things. And mine was just a brown paper bag with a slice of bread and sometimes a slice of cheese, government cheese, which was the hardest cheese to eat. You couldn't even chew that stuff, okay? It was so bad. You couldn't melt it, you couldn't chew it. It was wild. But anyway, And so he took me back to those times, and I relived it, right? Which I had been hiding it. I had kind of suppressed that in my mind because it was kind of really a traumatic time. And he walked me through that again. And he walked me through what I started doing to take myself to another level when my father told me I had to go get a job. He reminded me, refreshed it in my memory that I got hired with the Miami News at the age of 12, but they were hiring kids aged 12 to 16 to go door to door and sell newspaper subscriptions. Probably because they figured those kind of kids would be get enough sympathy from the homeowner to be like, okay, I'll buy one from this kid. And so they would pick us up and take us to different neighborhoods and tell us to square a block. That means you go door to door to door all the way till you get back to the point we started and wait on the corner. So we did that, and we'll wait for what they call him, a coach. The boss was called a coach. He would come back and pick us up, and we'd turn in our sales. And I started really doing very well in sales. I was the number one kid in that team. I sold the most subscriptions every single night. And he brought back my exhilaration, my emotion, how I overcame obstacles and people, kind of not wanting to pay me or not trusting me, and how I earned their trust during my pitch and got them to, give me the money and close these subscription sales. He took me back to me understanding that how I got out of my comfort zone and actually went in the back of a pickup truck with strangers and got taken to strange neighborhoods to walk and knock on random doors and cold pitch people in the middle of the evening. So he was showing me my ability that I had to evolve, to persevere, to take risk, take on challenges, and succeed. And then once he showed this to me and he brought it all out of me in this hypnotherapy session, he then sent me into a future reality, and he said, I want you to see a time arc from the time you were 12 until the time your company is successful. He said, what year would you see a huge breakthrough in your company? I said, 2026. Now keep in mind, this was 2 years ago. I said, 2026, I see a huge breakthrough in my company. He said, I want you to see time as an arc, this line going up and then curving and then coming back down. And this arc has dates and times on it, markers of achievements that you've made, benchmarks that you hit along the way to 2026. And he took me from the age of 12, becoming a successful door-to-door newspaper subscription salesperson, all the way to seeing the ultimate success of my company. And he was walking me through the hypnotherapy of each benchmark I was able to achieve along the way. And he was bringing these old memories that I had kind of forgotten about, most of them, and all these things I was able to accomplish and achieve and all the obstacles I had to overcome. It was replaying in my mind like a movie. And he took me to a place where I can see future outcomes and I can see the potential future, the one that should be on my timeline, the one I was destined to be a part of. And he said, now I want you to go back to yourself at the age of 12. And he sent me back in time again. And he said, I want you and your younger self to get into a car. And younger Billy is going to drive. And so I got into the passenger seat, and my younger version of myself, my 12-year-old self, gets into the driver's seat and starts driving a car. And he says, ask yourself some questions about life and what's going on that time frame, and ask your younger self, how he feels. And so I had this conversation with myself. It was so real. And my younger self was telling me the hardships, how tough it was, the fights, the issues, the racism, the financial difficulties, the hunger, all the things. And he told me to reassure my younger self that I'm on the right path and to keep striving, keep working yourself, and don't give up, because everything you're doing now is building and creating a phenomenal future for yourself and your future family. And he said, when you say that, look at yourself in the eyes. And I did. And I saw my younger self, my eyes lit up. This is a way of working on past trauma. The most unique way I've ever dealt with since I've been working on trauma and doing shadow work. This was incredible. He said, now, ask Billy how he feels. And my younger self said, this is exciting. I'm really excited for the future. Thank you for telling me this, and thank you for sharing this with me. I promise I won't give up. And then he said, okay, stop the car. So we stopped the car, and he says, now get out and you switch places. He says, now younger Billy isn't driving anymore. He's been driving this whole time. He's been worried, he's been frustrated, he's been persevering, but at the same time, still concerned about the future. And you just reassured him that the future is bright. He says, now you get behind the wheel and now you drive the car. And we took off again. He says, now younger Billy, that 12-year-old version of himself, isn't driving anymore. You now have taken the wheel and you're in control. You're driving now. And you're going to drive directly to that destination in the future that you saw on that timeline. This is just one small example of doing incredible trauma work on yourself and dealing with the inner child. We all have this inner child within us that in some way we feel like we suppressed it, but in true reality, a lot of the trauma and issues that we were going through in the past still influence our minds today, still brings up old fears that we don't realize are linked to the past, brings up mindsets about money and lack of money and scarcity and poverty and fears. Will I make it? Will I succeed? Is this going to work? I'm overwhelmed. What am I going to do? Can I get through this? Am I going to persevere? All these things begin to come up. And we don't realize that they're really tethered to a younger version of yourself. And that younger version of yourself sometimes just needs to be seen. It needs to be heard. And the traumas of the past and the situations of the past need to be addressed and processed through the body. It's tough to bring those things back up sometimes because they could be extremely traumatic. But the fact that I could tell this story without completely breaking down shows me that the work that I did with this man actually healed me in that area. And there are so many areas and rooms we have inside of us. Each one needs to be dealt with over time. It's a lifelong process because there's so many things that we have going on in us that we just kind of ignore. And the body wants to ignore them because it wants you to focus on the moment of now, because you got to be in survival mode. But we have to go back and when we go back and deal with those things, we fix that inner child. We repair that inner trauma that leaks into our current state of being, our current state of mind, and creates anxiety, fear, doubt, right? Frustration, and all these other emotions of low frequency, low vibration. No matter how intent we are on succeeding, no matter how intent we are on manifesting and creating our true, real reality and future, a lot of the times it's your younger self that's actually holding you back. Why? Because it's trauma that you have not dealt with, you haven't faced it. You thought you hid it away inside of a little compartment inside your mind, but guess what? It's still there and it is still affecting you at this very moment. And until you deal with these things, it's going to continue to affect you and affect you in ways that could hold you back from manifesting your true reality, manifesting abundance, manifesting financial freedom. For me, I saw how this anxiety and fear of the future, which I was still looking to create, it was being held back from me. I was allowing myself to hold it back from myself because of something that was going on when I was much younger. Those same feelings and emotions were still having a minute effect on my decision making, my ability to see what was going on, my ability to discern situations. And so once it happened, I was able to then begin to make course corrections and change things and see things differently. And I also had a higher vibration, higher frequency, because I then automatically had this knowing or this feeling that I will persevere, that I will succeed, and I will be able to make the right decisions to manifest that new future reality. These are just some of the things that we teach you in the Forbidden Knowledge Academy. If this hits you hard, if this strikes a chord inside of you, you should join the Forbidden Knowledge Academy, where we have incredible philosophical and incredible deep metaphysical teachings. They're going to take you to your past, your present, and your future, and help you create the reality that is truly your birthright. Teach you how to build a legacy. Teach you how to create a reality that will put you in a state of financial freedom and also spiritual freedom. This academy was created and designed to empower you, to teach you the right form of self-improvement, and to help you become the best version of yourself. So I highly recommend you join the Forbidden Knowledge Academy. We have a great coaching team, and we have myself, Billy Carson, as your mentor, and over 1,200 incredible souls that are in there. I call them leaders to help guide you, support you, and hold you accountable along the way. So click the link in the caption of this video, or click the link in my bio, and join the Forbidden Knowledge Academy, where you can come in here and become part of a family that's on the same frequency, and we will all work on our inner child together, and together we will build a better future.